Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. We are in my bathroom that I am currently renovating. And so I'm going to take you quickly, step by step through how to make this process happen or what my plans are for today. So as you can see, I already painted this green and this was where the shower and tub were pulled out from, okay? Now, I personally have difficulty in ordering my steps of priorities because I see everything all at once. And then I'm like, okay, I need to do that thing, this thing, that thing, this thing. And then I don't set myself up for success because I'm putting my priorities on the wrong things. Okay. So like I can't stand living in a mobile home for certain reasons. Okay. So I am grateful for it, but there are certain things that I just can't stand, the ceiling being one of them, because as I look up and I see those yellow bars, it is like the bars of my prison cell of mobile home living. Okay. And that's what I've had to be reminded of for the whole time that I've lived here. So, anyway, I'm trying to make my environment look like something that I like. So, some of the things that I will be working on that I don't need to do right at this moment are, see these little seam covers? That is something that's like specific to a mobile home. You can see, so I want to tear those down. And then there's just all this old stuff that's like, this was where the towel bar was. Now I could put it back up there, but I don't think that's what I want to do. So all the little holes and things like that, you can cover over with like a wood filler, like a seam filler, because it's made out of wood. So unless you're replacing with drywall or something like that, that is one of the easiest ways to just kind of like clean up the look of everything. But I wanted to start out with something that created a big difference, and that was the paint color. Okay. And you'll see it doesn't look great right now because it's not all put together in its final form. So the whole thing that started this was because the drain was not working in the tub properly. And so just the way that things work in a mobile home is that everything is like extra complicated when you're doing simple repairs. And so what I figured out was that the best thing to do was just replace all of it, because I had to replace the shower head too. So since we were taking these things out, we might as well just replace everything all at once. And it's not that expensive. You see, like this little thing, I took this thing off the door, so that's got to be fixed. So step number one, because I want to replace the sink today, is to get rid of all this stuff. Okay, all the stuff that's inside of it. Now, the fastest way to do that: take 5 minutes, put everything into a garbage bag. And I'm not saying that you have to throw everything out, but that's what I'm about to do, is take everything, because you need to remove everything from the space so that you're not getting it dirty when you're working on it. Okay. So I'm going to put everything in a garbage bag. And after I get like the important work done, and I go back to figure out like what it is that I need in the space, then I have the opportunity to go back and say, like, did I use this within the past 6 months? No, then I don't need it. Or it's like, have I not used this because I haven't had a bathtub, like a functioning bathtub? And if so, then I can hold on to that thing. But it's like you have to constantly go through and clean out your space of stuff that you're not using, and stop going with the fear-based thing of like, well, I really want this thing. It's like you'll be fine without it. Okay. You'll forget about it right away. All right. Time to clear this out. Okay. Oh, actually, number one really is like to measure the size of the sink right now and compare it to the size of the butcher block that I want to put in here. Because if that's too big, then either I'm going to have to cut it down, or I just don't want to get myself into a mess that I can't have cleaned up by this evening. Okay. Because I want to live my life this evening, not be working on this all freaking day and night. All right. So that's where I'm going to start out. Right. Bye for now. Okay, it's been about an hour since I last recorded, and here's where we are at. Okay, so I've got the sink all cleared off, all the excessive stuff moved out. I know I moved the camera fast. I am sorry. It's probably not fun to watch. Um, but yeah, I removed all the drawers. And the thing is, like, you don't really need to destroy everything as you're doing it, because you may find that it's beneficial to use later. So here is where things get complicated and where you would get scared. It's like, in changing things out, you might have to move some things around, but plumbing is very simple. Okay. Um, but this is the old polybutylene, I believe is what it's called. This old gray tubing. It looks a lot like PEX, but it's made of a different product and it's kind of brittle. So my intent is to replace these water shutoff valves, which if you don't know where they are or you don't have them because like you have one main water shutoff valve, I highly encourage you to change out your plumbing because it costs maybe like $20 to change it out on anything that you can to make sure that you have a water valve that you know how to use and you understand the simplicity of it. So if you need to shut it off to work on some stuff, then you can. All right. But this is now I've never been trained in plumbing. I'm just like observant and I used to watch a lot of This Old House and things like that. So this is a vent, okay? So this is like it's mainly for the interaction of air and water so that the water flows properly. So don't think that you can just go and install a sink and not know that you need to have it vented. Now, there's like a vent cap on top of this one rather than it being vented up into the wall and going out through the roof. Okay, so I'm just giving you some basics of understanding. So I am like I'm trying to gather up a list of all the things that I am going to need. So when I go to Home Depot, it's going to be an effective trip, not just me wandering around thinking like, okay, I think I got everything I need. Then you come home and find out that you have other crap that you need to go and buy because you forgot about something. So I did all the measurements of like this sink top is let me see if I can remember it. It's 22 inches by 48 inches. In the butcher block top that I want to replace it with is like 50 inches by 25 inches. Now that could fit in this space. And like I had to think about it because it's like it would come right up to here. And would there be room for that? So what I'm considering is cutting it down into the same size because then those cut pieces, if I cut accurately enough, I can use them as what would be like the backsplash. Okay. So the height of this is 32 inches as it is right now. But what I had bought is like a vessel sink that sits up above the countertop. And the total height of my table that I was using for like my readings and my videos and things like that is 35 inches. I wrote all this down in a notebook. So, or no, it's not. It's not much different than the height of this. It's like this is 32 inches and that one is 33 inches or something like that. But then I have to consider the fact that the sink sits 5 inches above that and that the faucet sits like 7 inches up. So it's like one of those faucets that sort of like pour out. It's like a fountain faucet. So I want to take all that into consideration and for the fact that that just might be a little bit high. Okay. So the way that I'm going to deal with that, and this is still the stuff that I'm not totally sure of, but I know that all this stuff has got to like go and be cut apart in a responsible manner to where I'm not just like letting water flow all over the place because this might not seem obvious or it might seem obvious, but if I cut down below this, it is going to rupture the water line, right? So it's like I might have this turned off, but it's only turned off. Oh, you can't really see where my hand is. It's only turned off to the sink. Okay. So things to think about. You are going to have water that is in these lines. You turn the water off and then you turn the faucet on to make sure that you've drained out the line. But you're going to have water that's dripping from things and whatever. So have old towels ready, have a bucket ready, and just prepare with if you can't shut all of your water off, but you will need to at one time because I want to cut this line down, put on new hex piping, hex tubing. Um, though I don't really have to, I could work with what I have, but I don't know. I'll have to take that into consideration because I need to go and get like okay, they have something called shark bites, and those are push to connect plumbing, and it's so easy to work with because all you have to do is cut it properly, make sure that you deburr the copper or like tubing, whatever type of plumbing that it is, and then you push to connect them. But if you're not used to working with it, I would highly recommend that you never use it like behind the walls or something where you can't if it's your first time working with it. But if you're just doing a quick renovation thing, the shark bites are much more expensive than other plumbing stuff because they don't really require a lot of extra special equipment to work with them. Like if you're working with PEX, there's multiple different ways that you can do it. There's like crimping stuff that you would have to get. So it just depends on the investment level that you want to, or if you're working with copper, you have to solder things together. So if that's not a skill that you're ready to learn, then try shark bite. Okay, just try it and see how it works. So anyway, those are the all the different considerations that I have to think about so that I'm not just like creating a freaking mess without seeing like where it's going. So what I'm going to try to do now is disconnect this, try to pull the sink up. And this is just like it's like a very lightweight plastic sink that this house came with because when they make mobile homes, they make everything out of the lightest weight possible. So once I pull this up, if it's the same as what it was in the other bathroom, there's going to be a big gap in the floor underneath, and I'm going to have to cover over that with like plywood or something. So my intent is to have this project done within a few hours. Now, if it doesn't work out that way, that's okay too. But I've already done it once last year on the other sink. So I should be way ahead of the game and not be moving with all this hesitation and like, you know, not knowing what I'm doing. Like, "Oh, I'm not a plumber. Can I actually do these things?" Like, well, hell yeah, I've done it like 10 times. So I don't care that I'm not a plumber. I like know what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. And you look up on YouTube how to do these things, and then I promise you the people at Home Depot, they are like they have like master plumbers, master electricians. You go and ask these people how it's done, and they will help you pass these little things. Okay, you're not embarrassing yourself. That's what they're there for, and they don't want to just stock product all day. They want to remember what it was like to actually do stuff. All right, okay, so it's 11:11 exactly as I looked at the screen. So I'm gonna press the other 11, which is the pause button on here, and get back to work. Okay, and I'll check back in. Okay, it's been about a half hour, and here is where I'm at. You can see the conditions of like these are some of the tools that I use, my vacuum being my main one. All right, just a little update. Okay, pause again. Okay, so I finished taking the sink out completely, and it was easiest with the multi-tool. So if you don't know what a multi-tool is, it's this right here. Okay. I was surprised. I actually thought like the Sawzall would be easier, which is this. Um, but it was not. It was not. So it's just the way that it was. And then some things, once you start dismantling things, you're going to see that things are screwed together and this and that. And so you need to be aware of those things. So you need to have like your screwdriver around or a drill and multiple different bits. Okay. And you need to just keep compiling the stuff closer and closer together like as you're approaching the project so you know that you have everything close by because anytime you run into a difficulty it's going to make you like frustrated that you have to stop and figure something else out. Okay, so what I want to make sure that you understand is that that plumbing stuff, all the sink, like the bottom of the sink was like had holes cut in it for all the plumbing to go up through it before they assemble the plumbing on top of it, right? So like it's just small little holes that you can't pull up over it. So you have to be careful about how you cut through it, and that's why the multi-tool was a good thing. It doesn't just like go wild and nick the plumbing. Okay, so that's where we're at for right now. Now I am going to try to dry fit the new like what used to be a table into what's going to be the sink in here, just so I can see what I'm going to have to do. Because chances are I'm going to have to cut that vent pipe right there and reassemble it to make sure that this. Let's see if you can see what I'm pointing at so that this is even with where it connects to the sink. And right now, that's not what's going to happen because the sink is not one, it's not a bowl that drops down. It's one that sits on top of the counter. So, so I'm going to dry fit things and just see what's going on. And I'm going to have to cover up those holes that are in the ground. So what I did with the other bathroom was I just got some like 1/4 inch plywood and then sealed it. And then I cut holes in, but instead of it being like a hole just for the plumbing to go through, I cut it like a U. So I could push it in there so it could go past the plumbing. And then I cut it's a little hard to tell you. So what I will do is I'll come back to it and I'll try to show you what I'm talking about, okay? If I choose to do it that way this time. All right, so I'm gonna dry fit the stuff. We'll see what happens. I already know that this here is going to be a problem because what I have are these like black shelves that are gonna go here and there, and I have to see where it's all gonna be situated because with the shelves, they're just made out of like metal wire, so I can snip them with wire cutters. All right, so we just have to get a little bit creative, but it's not that hard to do stuff yourself. All right, so we're gonna pause again. and it is now like 3:50, and I think I started the video at 1:10-ish. Okay. So everything always takes at least three times as long as I think it's going to. In my mind, I'm like, it'll only take me like 5 minutes to disassemble all that stuff, when in actuality, it takes like 2 hours at least. All right, hang on. Okay, I'm checking in again. We've got things partially in place. So let me back up so you can see this. All right. So this is the table that I was using to make videos on, like, when I was doing it with the background. So anyway, this is just two shelves, right? Two shelving units. And then let me see if we can get underneath so you can see what I did. So all I did was countersunk some holes in there. I just used, I think maybe like a 3/4 or a 1 inch paddle bit, and I just drilled those holes in. Well, first of all, I flipped it upside down, and then I put the shelves on it, so I knew exactly where the holes had to go. Okay, and then I drilled them out a little bit, not all the way through, because that's not the intent of what's going on here. All right, so now if you take a look at where it's basically at the same height as far as the counter goes. You can see where the paint was behind it, and you can see where the other sink was. So it's basically at the same height. And if you want to do this with the least amount of fuckery, which is what I absolutely want to do, because the way that I like to do things myself, so that if I decide that I want to change them later, I know exactly how I got into it and I know exactly how to get back out of it. So I might not take some of the final steps until I've had a chance to live with it for a little bit, to see if I really like how everything is at. And what I mean by the final steps are like sealing everything with silicone, or like if you're doing plumbing work and you have to attach things, then you want to seal them together so they stay attached forever. But I might fit it and use things minimally, just to give myself a chance to use this stuff and see, do I like it, before I make the final investment of like cutting holes in things that I can't undo. Okay, so this is the sink. This is a faucet that was recommended for it on, and I bought them both on Amazon. So this is like ceramic, or whatever you would call it. Um and then, so this is what goes in the sink. Obviously, that's the drain plug. And if you can see, because of how high up it is, it looks like it might interfere with the mirror, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It actually goes right above it. Now, will I even keep the mirror? I don't know. I don't know. But for right now, I just want to get this set in place for today and have it done by tonight. And what I remembered was that, okay, so when I opened this up, I feel like the other bathroom had much more wide open spaces, like the Dixie Chicks, or the Chicks, whatever they're called now. But I remembered that I had some like pre-cut just stuff, like extra pieces of wood that I had. And I remembered that I have more of this flooring, which thank goodness, because I don't think you can get it anymore. And it's like super inexpensive. It's super easy to work with because it's just peel and stick flooring, and it's waterproof. And I just wanted to cover all of the floors from actually, this was where I started from. It's like these pieces along this wall. That's where I started. And then I moved it through the entire house. Like it took me maybe a couple of different years or seasons to do so. But yeah, that's how it all got started as far as renovation goes here, because there was carpeting in this bathroom. And that is so disgusting. I don't even understand how somebody could do such a thing. But as I was pulling the carpeting out, there was like, had to be at least 50 staples where the carpeting was stapled in, like underneath the toilet. It was so freaking gross. I'm so glad I got it out of here. And then this was like an easy choice to work with, because I didn't have many tools. And this, you don't need many tools to work with. And I'll see. I don't have the box near me for the flooring, but yeah. So that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to make a list of exactly what I need for Home Depot, because I don't need to get as much as I did. I just need to figure out like what plumbing underneath. And I already got a kit for the other bathroom, and it's this really easy to use kit where it's got like flexible plumbing, so you can kind of move things into the right area. The things that you need to be conscious of is making sure that your water can drain out of the sink. Okay. So because this sink is higher, I shouldn't have a problem with that, where I was talking about maybe having to move the vent pipe. So anyway, I need to hurry up and get on all that. because time is wasting away. Not really. It's 4:20. And um, just to prove that you can multitask, I started marinating some pork like yesterday, I think, and then I have a pressure cooker. So while I'm doing all this, that is happening out in the kitchen, and I like clean everything as I go. So I'm not making a mess. Like I was vacuuming the whole time that I was doing all this stuff, and I had a towel covering the gap between the door and the floor, so it wasn't going out into the bedroom. All right. So I'm telling you, this is how to be efficient and how to multitask. I know dudes like to do things with like the biggest power tools necessary. And sometimes that's why it's beneficial to approach things like a woman, because sometimes women can think about stuff from all these different angles to where they can see where a problem would come up first. So they plan for that kind of stuff. And they're not going with the biggest, baddest tools and stuff that are out there. They'll kind of like start at the minimal level. And you know, that's where at certain times I needed a professional or somebody who does renovations more aggressively than I do, because I needed them to say, hey, you are wasting a lot of time doing this. But over all the years that I've been doing this, I've learned it myself. I've learned what I like to work with, because with my tools, with my Ryobi tools, they can get heavy with the battery pack. So when I was working on replacing all the drywall in my house that had flooded, you spend all day screwing in drywall, your body is going to hurt in ways that you're not used to, because you're not used to doing those things on the regular. So I've always had problems, well, in the past like 10 years, with like tennis elbow. Um, and so doing that all day long with that heavy battery pack, that's what it was causing, a lot of pain in my elbows. So I'm just telling you, I've learned how to work with things, and then how to prevent messes, both in like within your own body, within your own family structure of like how you can get this stuff done and still make sure that you're tending to all the family matters and what everybody else needs. All right. But if you've ever seen anybody who wears those bands, and this tattoo is like perfectly placed as to where those armbands go, and that's for anybody who has tendonitis. I believe that that's what tennis elbow is called. And what it's doing, it's creating an artificial joint right here, because your joint is where like the tension is constantly being pulled from. When you're operating with the forearm. Okay. So when you put that band on, it creates a new point of tension. So it's not pulling your tendons from the joint. Okay. All right. So I've learned a lot in this life. I try to give you the best of everything that I can, uh, in just the quickest amount of time possible. All right. So I'm going to pause it again. Okay. So this is what I was talking about for finding a little scrap piece to cover up this hole. Now, this is not the same depth. And for me, that doesn't really matter. If I were trying to be more precise, I would make sure that I got wood of the same depth. What I mean is that this wood is not as deep as this wood, but it's going to be covered over with the flooring. Okay. So, and no impact is going to be put at that level, but there are studs underneath here, or floor joists underneath here, that I can attach this down to make sure that it doesn't wobble. And so what I was talking about is like that you basically you cut out a hole to fit around the pipe and the plumbing, and then you have this little piece that's left over. So it takes a little bit of finagling, but you can get it back into place and like glue it into place. But um, do you need to? Not necessarily if you're going to have a floor covering over it, but you don't want like little rodents and stuff getting in with that gap. And so that's why I liked to have the piece there. Okay. And then it sort of holds this in place, the vent tube in place, so it doesn't wobble all over the place. All right. So, and then they have these nice little like chrome circles that go around here to make it look like a finished product. But again, I still have the flooring to put in place, and, other stuff that I'm working on. So it's about time for me to take a shower and then go to Home Depot and pick up the rest of the stuff that I need. Actually, yeah, I don't know. We will see. Because I still have to drill a hole into the table here in order to get the sink into it. All right. So I'll check back in again later. Hello, friends. Welcome back for day 2 of bathroom renovations, because this was where I had to leave it yesterday. Because even though I got what I thought was all this stuff from Home Depot, I forgot the one thing that I wanted to do, which was to bring my faucet with me. Um, because you have to know what's going on with the water supply line. And there's all I don't know why they make it different on many different products, but I went and I got the water supply lines that are supposed to be for a faucet, like a bathroom type sink. And I was like all excited to get home and get it started. And then I looked at this and I was like, oh, I didn't even need the water supply lines. Well, that's amazing. And then I'm like, wait a second. These are not going to fit. I'm going to need some type of adapter because these are 3/8 of an inch at the end. And that's what I had bought was water supply lines that are 3/8 to a half inch because that's what your water supply lines are is a half inch, but then they reduce down to 3/8 on the faucet usually. Okay. So everyone is a little bit different. And the one that was in the other bathroom, um, they had like copper supply lines, water supply lines that come directly from the faucet and so you just have to take a look. Okay, it's not hard. It's just all about matching all this stuff. And so, what there should be is some sort of thing that is like a reducer that I can connect these to. If not, the good people at Home Depot know how to help me. So, I'm going to end this video here. Um, and then we'll get back into kind of like what I did just for the evening, just to make sure that I could set the sink in a place that it wasn't like going to cause trouble. I did put a plastic bag over the P trap, and though there is water in there, it's still kind of like you can smell like sewagey type water, and that'll make you nauseous after smelling that all day. So it's gross. So yeah, protect your family from the gross smells of renovation. But I did turn one of the shelves sideways just so it could have a stable surface and not knock the vent out of the way down there. Okay. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'll see you later on today. All right. Bye.